And I can imagine how that process can apply to lots of people's journeys. Perhaps people who haven't experienced such exceptional circumstances as yourself, but that idea of a point of softening and healing, giving you a different lens by which to look backwards to where you've come from, including some really challenging stuff, and that being part of the process in the present. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really hard work though. Obviously,
Yeah.
we shouldn't try and think, oh, it's all wishy. I'm not interested in the wishy-washy.
Yeah.
It's very hard work. It's very hard. Emotionally, it's very hard. Physically, it's very hard. But the rewards are limitless, limitless, because you not only heal, then you're in a position where trauma and stress are far less evident in your lifestyle because you've made so many changes and to your mind, but also your external lifestyle, that you're far less likely to experience trauma again. I wouldn't put myself back in give myself the opportunity to go back to Afghanistan, whereas I would have before because I saw value in it. But now it's like, oh, I'm not interested in conflict and confrontation. I'm interested in peace and quiet and calm and health and joy and love and beauty. All of these things came about nearly entirely because of my practice in the internal arts. There's one other thing, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Well, I'm going to invite you to take it from the experience from the point of view you begin to teach, having come back from China. Did you want to bring that other thing now, or should we come back to it in a little while?
We'll come back to it a little bit later.
Okay.
What I found, because I know that we share knowledge in the Wudang systems, and I actually, 1 year after I went to China the first time, I went back, but I went to Wudang this time because I didn't have the awareness. I didn't know that Wudang existed. So I just, whatever opportunity presented itself, I took the first time around. The second time around, I knew what I wanted. Because he was a Buddhist teacher. So even though he was teaching internal martial arts, actually, he was, from some degree, coming at it from an external point of view some of the time, because as a child he trained in Kung Fu. Whereas when I went to Wudang, everything, that lens changed to entirely internal arts, and that the practices that are used to restructure the body. So I got a greater, instead of an intuitive education, I got an external education that supplemented my intuitive education that I was developing through my own practice.
Was that with Shifu Yuan Shugang?
Yeah. And I managed to spend, I was very fortunate, I managed to spend a few days up on White Horse Mountain with Li Shifu at the Temple of the Five Immortals. Wow.
They have an amazing program.
Yeah. That is
an amazing cultural program too, don't they? Really kind of deep in the Taoist practices in a holistic sense. Yeah.
Far deeper than anything else I ever heard of while I was there. There's value in all of the schools. There's no doubt about that. But I was very attracted to that life up in that monastery, up in the temple. Just because, again, it was another layer of dedication and another layer of focus beyond the big schools and the big classes, even though they were very valuable for me and really enjoyable as well.
So, can you share a particular moment in your time in Wudang where you knew what you wanted, and then were there particular moments when it was a particularly uniquely Wudang experience? You wouldn't have got that moment anywhere else.
I think what I take from Wudang was five animals Qigong. That transformed my body past. I'd made changes and they were significant physical changes to my body, but nothing had taken me quite as far as what happened after I started studying five animals every day. You know, that hour of, that's intense, that's very intense qigong. That's very demanding stuff, and totally transformative on a physical level, and therefore naturally the mental level. But the level of opening of the body was, yeah, profound. That's profound. That was 5 Animals qigong. I still teach it to this day. You know, it's been years now. It's years.
Yeah, me too.
Really, for a lot of people out there that just want to move their bodies, there's lots of exercises, of course, but if you really want to be, if you want to transform your body, an hour a day of 5 Animals, that'll do it. That will do it. Yeah, and in addition to that, I was introduced on a very basic level, and this would play a role much later, actually, in the last 2.5 years, but I was introduced to standing practices in Wudang. But I disregarded them because I was more focused on 5 Animals and my other forms that I was studying. But actually, standing practice has actually taken me further than anything else. Actually, in these last 2.5 years, I've had a wonderful teacher, and he's really given me a really in-depth education in what internal alchemy and standing practices is really trying to achieve. And so it's another little level on my journey. But that was here in the UK, so I haven't been away again yet. But very powerful.
Could you kind of take us through into your experience of teaching others, how that started, how that developed for you?
Yeah, it's been, so my first class, only one person turned up, and that was in Canning Town in East London. That's where I lived, because I felt like I wanted to influence my local community. It's not a very affluent community, not at that point anyway. But that she came back, and I thought, oh, okay. And then another one came, and then still small group sizes. I'm not claiming that I was doing, you know, nothing more than 10 at this point. But I've actually just kept it that way. I've actually really enjoyed small groups. I don't like big groups. I've done a couple of 60+ classes.
Wow.
Which the feedback was positive, so I'll take their word for it. But I know that they couldn't possibly be understanding the depth to which I like to teach at. But they still got something from it, so it's fine. But ideally, with my own classes, I actually like less than 10, because, and to answer your question more fully, it's because I can see and mark the differences in the progress, and I can help them recognize the differences in the progress as well. When I can watch someone's body. Being in the military, I'm quite aware of observing people's physicalities. And so I like that. I really like that. They might not be able to recognize just how much progress they make, whether it's postural, whether it's they hold a particular shoulder high all the time, and then after a while you notice that they don't, but they might not notice that that has happened. I can see these things, or hip flexibility, which is vitally important. I can see these things, and I love that. I love that, because that is healing, and my lens as a teacher and as a practitioner, I focus nearly entirely on healing or on development after the healing has happened, or during the healing as well. But that development after that is really, I love watching it. I love hearing it. It's just really rewarding for me. I'd love to be able to just do it for free, just because that's so rewarding.
Yeah. And do you bring those other attributes that you previously mentioned to your space of teaching? So love and beauty.
You've caught me out now, because actually I think what most of my students would actually recognize is that I actually bring more of my military training into my classes. Not because I'm a taskmaster or beast master, as I would call them, but because there's that, I can help people push themselves a little bit longer than well, any teacher can help a student push themselves a little bit longer. But I've got great experience at making people go further than they're comfortable. But I believe in a joyful setting and in a light-hearted manner, but I do demand that they put in the work. So an hour and a half with me generally is hard physical work. You know, if you're not sweating, then I've somehow let you escape, and I wouldn't, you know, there's not much room for escaping because I keep the class sizes small, so I can keep everyone, I can see everyone and see sweat dripping down their face. But that's where we get progress from. It's hard work. It's this, of course, that idea of flow and sensitivity, that is fundamental, especially developing sensitivity. But to develop sensitivity, you've got to actually work very hard physically. It takes a great deal of effort to develop real deep sensitivity to your own body.
And have you had students come to you weren't expecting to be working within a healing framework or an internal framework, and wanted to do the opposite, wanted to approach it in a way that wouldn't be so helpful, and have had to change the whole paradigm in which they're kind of doing this? Have you kind of have you and students been on different pages initially and get to find a way to kind of steer them towards?
I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
Okay.
I must be giving something off.
Yeah.
Where I've only actually, just try and think about that for a second. Honestly, off the top of my head, no, I don't think I have. I think I've had people that are, maybe they haven't understood quite exactly what they're getting. But I feel like I've been presenting something where something's attractive, of course. Yeah. There has to be.
Yeah.
And so none of my students are ever scared of hard work. I've never seen any of them quit. I've never heard anyone say that they need to stop. I've only ever heard that it's doing them a lot of good, that they recognize that it's really, really giving them what they were needing.
Have you worked with other veterans or other ex-forces?
I have. There's definitely one. Was there another? There's definitely one veteran that I've worked with. 5 Animals again, because I knew that the veteran body, the veteran physical body across the board, is one that's essentially made of wood. It's just solid, and combined with deep, hard stretching exercises, 5 Animals Qigong breaks through that as fast as anything I know. That or standing practices, internal alchemy, that will do it as well. But I find that veterans like to work dynamically, and standing practices are obviously far, far less dynamic and sometimes perfectly static. So I still find 5 Animals really, some people just need to move their bodies, but 5 Animals will also take you a step further than just movement, as you know as well as I do.
Yeah, no, there are definitely really essential kind of stepping stones in towards internal alchemy practices. People need different routes to get towards points of stillness, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that needs to be acknowledged. If you need to move your body, it's not worth getting you straight into just do solely standing practice. Yeah. It's not good for you.